morning. My name is Lee Bramlett, and this is my new life story. Before Christ, my home was a very violent home. My dad was violent toward my mom, made a very tense environment. My mom was a manipulative, controlling woman. So that environment was very, very tense. I don't know what I did in that environment, but one of the things I did, I just clung to my King James Bible, and I read that a lot. But it was very, very hard to understand. And so before Christ, it was just living that environment. Chaos, I categorize it as chaos. So that's what my life was before I became a Christian. A really good friend of mine, we were just horsing around. We collected gerbils and hamsters and stuff. I go to his house, he'd come to mine. And his dad was a pastor, a Methodist pastor. And so we'd have conversations about God. And what he was enlightening me about is the God that you've been struggling to read in this King James Bible is a living God. And so I said, I would like to know more about that God. And he went and said, would you like to accept Christ? And I said, yes. He said, well, I don't do altar calls in the church, but bring your family. And then if you want to accept Christ, you can do it in church, and they will know what direction you're going. Because he realized the environment that I grew up wasn't healthy. He said, but at least that'll give them a pinpoint. They know where you want to go as a young man. So the next Sunday, I just felt that burning in my heart. And hindsight, it was powerful, because usually Methodist pastors don't do altar calls. But he did that, and then I went forward because he said, I want this to be real, something that you own. And so I walked forward, the only person in the church that accepted Christ that Sunday. And then at that point, I realized there is a God that's personal, that's in this book that's hard to understand. Always growing up, I was a planner. I lived in the future. I knew where I wanted to be, what I wanted to do. And one of the things growing up, I wanted to have a great family. And I thought the best way to do that is with a good career. And the career I wanted was to be a marine biologist. But God, in his providence and sovereignty, clearly showed me that he had other things. And so that was to give me an opportunity to be a Bible translator. And even at the end of that career, I looked back and I thought, God knew me much more than I knew myself. We went to Cameroon, Central Africa. Before going there, we spent a number of years getting training in linguistics, anthropology, Greek, Hebrew. But then once we were in the village, before we could even get to the village, we had to spend 2 years in France, because we had to study French, because all the linguistic reports and everything we had documented about that language, we had to do in French. And then once we could get the language documented, an alphabet built, a grammar devised, orthography set up, teach people to read and write their language, after we did all that, then's when we got into do the Bible translation. And we were in the village 13 years. And then after that, we still stayed in touch, even in Cameroon with the project. I was a regional director, but we still did the translation on the side. 30 years ago, I came down to Kansas City and just wondered what it would look like. It was very blighted. It was in a bad spot. So just a little thought in the back of my mind, what would it take to transform this city? And when I was in the village and we saw God transforming the culture, just like on the wall over there, we've got that cocoon that turns into a butterfly. That transformation takes a long time, and I got to see that in the village. So right now I'm excited because I get to see that happening with Good Dads KC. We'll just be one little strategic part of what the church is doing. But I envision in 25 years, we're going to see a transformed city. Well, we have fathers in the homes, being godly men, take care of their wife, taking care of their kids. And what the problem is with fatherlessness is, for me, it burns my heart, is children that live in multi-generations without a father, they don't have a good image of Father God. So how are they going to relate to the creator of the universe, the Father, if they never had one in their home? And so we're going to turn that tide.